Welcome to this very special edition of the Martini Lunch. As we close in on the anniversary of America's independence. I don't know how many of y'all have really taken a gander at Independence Hall. This is where the Declaration of Independence was signed. If you go in this front door right here to the right, is the room that you see in the portrait with all the men standing around. Um, you have John Hancock standing up, and everybody's signing it, arguing, whatever. It's on the back of the $100 bill. It's not too large of a room, but as you can see, I mean, it's pretty much how it was 240, geez, what are we coming up on now? 248 years ago, 46 years ago. And remember, there's no air conditioner. Was it Willie Carrier had not invented the air conditioning yet. It's hot. It's July. July in Philadelphia is very hot. Anyway, they met in secret, and they came out and announced, they read right out front what had happened. A crowd had gathered out here. Could you imagine that crowd outside here? We're talking about maybe 100 people. At the time, I believe Philadelphia was the largest city in America and had 50,000 people in it, if I'm not mistaken. Or a population of 50,000. But anyway, so we know about the Declaration of Independence. And last year, I read the Declaration of Independence for a video. And this year, I thought, it's that time again. It's Martini Lunch time. Why do we get Martini Lunches? Because of this. But I thought, what happened once the Declaration was signed? I don't really know that answer. I know that it had to go by ship across the sea and put into the hands, eventually, of the King of England. And I'll talk more about King George later, but here it is. This came from history.com. And anyway, I cleaned it up so you can see it a little bit better when we read this. And I've never really, I've kind of thought about this, but I never really read this. So let's do this. King George III speaks for the first time since American independence declared. And that statement may very well be true. King George III was not known to be the brightest of the royal cutlery. He oftentimes, it's rumored, would have carriage rides in the country, and he would tell his driver to stop, and he would go out and talk to trees. I'm not making that up. A lot of the stereotypes of incest comes from royalty. Well, he read it, on October 31st, 1776. Look at that. And we thought it was just Old Hallows Eve. Nope. That's when King George read, or evidently, on October 31st, 1776, in his first speech before British Parliament since the leaders of the American Revolution came together to sign the Declaration of Independence that summer. King George III acknowledges that all was not going well for Britain in the war with the United States. In his address, the king spoke about the signing of the U.S. Declaration of Independence and the revolutionary leaders. Now, remember, this happened, Lexington and Concord happened in 1775. So there was a rebellion already starting. And the Declaration of Independence was the 13 colonies coming together. And in their own little government, their own legislatures, just saying, we're getting a raw deal here. In his address, the king spoke about the signing of the U.S. Declaration of Independence and the revolutionary leaders who signed it, saying, "For daring and desperate is the spirit of those leaders whose object has always been dominion and power, that they have now openly renounced all allegiance with the crown and all political connection with this country. The king went on to inform Parliament of the successful British victory over General George Washington and the Continental Army at the Battle of Long Island on August 27, 1776, but warned them that notwithstanding the fair prospect, it was necessary to prepare for another campaign. Huh. Despite George III's harsh words, General William Howe and his brother, Admiral Richard Howe, still hoped to convince the Americans to rejoin the British Empire in the wake of the colonists' humiliating defeat at the Battle of Long Island. The British could easily have prevented Washington's retreat from Long Island and captured most of the Patriot officer corps, including the commander-in-chief. However, instead of forcing the former colonies into submission by executing Washington and his officers as traitors, the Howe brothers let them go with the hope of swaying Patriot opinion towards a return to the mother country. The Howe brothers' attempts at negotiation failed, and the War for Independence dragged on for another 4 years. The former surrender of the British to the Americans on October 19, 1781, after the Battle of Yorktown. See, for some reason I was thinking it's 1786. I thought the war lasted 10 years. But it was a 5-year war. But still, that's interesting how King George says, "For daring and desperate is the spirit of those leaders, whose object has always been dominion and power." So they were a greedy elitist. Our country was founded by greedy elitists, said the king. We've always hated the elite, right? But for daring and desperate is the spirit of those leaders. I love that. That's American. Are you daring and desperate? Desperate in this term is, it's not negative. I don't see it as it. I know that he tried to convey it as one, but you're desperate to achieve your destiny. You're desperate to achieve greatness. You know, it's you're desperate to do what it is that you feel like you're birthed for. Not everybody has that feeling. I think my listeners do. I think y'all got it. Y'all feel like you're part of something, and you're improving the world by being part of it. And we're all part of the United States of America. And like it or not, we have the abilities, we have the power to improve everything. We have a lot of naysayers. We have a lot of defeatists. We have people that would rather sit in their own filth, wallow in their own sorrow, and pretend to be great when they're really just disgusting. So on Halloween, King George warns Parliament it was necessary to prepare for a war. What do you think those Brits did after then? You know, they sat around hammering whatever they're hammering. There's always, whenever you see like some British Parliament, if you've never seen a little bit of British Parliament, you need to. They're just like, what it sounds like the whole time. They're hitting their tables and stuff. It's a spectacle, to say the least. But imagine what it was like after this, riding back to his castle. I don't even know what was it, Westminster, something like that. I don't know what it's called. I could care less. Remember, this is a good time to remember. This is why Americans don't bow. This is why Americans don't kneel. So we only kneel before God because everybody else was a subject of the king and they had to bow and kneel to the king. America kicked his ass and said, nope. Anyway, y'all have a great day. This is a short one, but it's such a great time of year. I want you to think about this. All those guys in their powdered wigs, they all started sweating underneath their wigs. What are we gonna do? They left the parliament that day and they ate a big plate of spotted dick. Oh, jeez. And we had some good old boys in America that kept their powder dry. They were Minutemen. Are you a Minuteman? I know a lot of guys are Minutemen, but could you do what they did? You have a rifle by your door ready to run out, to defend your life, property. Run out, run towards danger. Boy, we're not that anymore. That's how society runs. This makes me respect the police, the fire, the military. That's the American spirit. So, anyway, guys, you have a glorious day. All right? And you remember those fireworks. Don't forget to pick up your barbecue, man. You're going to cook. You're going to have a great weekend. You're going to hear a lot of explosions going off. Pick up some Benadryl and give them to your dogs. Because it's just 4th of July is coming, baby. And it's awesome. I love you guys. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. Until later on, peace, y'all.